For our invocation this evening, I've invited Reverend Terry Lemons from Newnan Chapel, United Methodist Church, to come forward and have our invocation. Welcome. Glad you're here with us this evening. Thank you very much.
Thank you for the invitation. Let us pray. O thou whose presence our soul delights, we thank you for abundant blessings. We are grateful to you for the lives that were protected during the tornado and for the opportunity to assist others in need. Oh Lord, continue to strengthen those who have and continue to help their neighbors in the aftermath of the disaster. Oh, we pray for continued provisions for shelter, for food, for adequate finance, for restoration of homes for your people. Give us this day, Lord God, hearts that continue to touch the community. We thank you for the community and the businesses of our city who are so giving, and thank you for loving us and allowing us to show love to others in this community. Grant us your peace. We offer a special prayer for the high school seniors gathered here and all the graduating seniors of Newnan and America. Grant them favor with teachers. Give them wisdom and knowledge, understanding to successfully complete their class papers, their tests, their assignments, and provide scholarships for the schools that they choose to attend. Give our mayor, give our city council, and those in various levels of city government eyes and ears and hearts of a servant leader to listen to the people they serve, and we ask that you would grant them wisdom, discernment, and sound decisions to govern your people, a sense of welfare and true need of our people affected by the tornado. Give them a heart of courage to advocate for peace and justice and mercy as they serve, an old spirit of life. Give them the heart to protect the last, the least, our children, the elderly, the poor, those who are ill in mind, body, and spirit, the stranger in our midst, those who live in the margins, those who are forgotten, who are lonely. Give them the ability to work together in harmony, that your will be done. Provide them personal peace in their lives and their tasks. Pour out your blessing on the agenda set before us. And, oh Lord, I ask you would continue to bless our city of Newnan. Oh, that we would continue to be Newnan strong. I pray this prayer in the name of your Son and our Savior. Amen.
Thank you, Reverend. Okay, this is the April 27th, 2021 regular meeting of the Newnan City Council. Before you, you have the minutes of the meeting of April the 13th, 2021. I'll entertain a motion we adopt those minutes.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. We adopt the minutes as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you. The next item on the agenda this evening, a report from boards and commissions. We have some appointments. I've been asked to put the first appointment on our next agenda, if we'll do that, please. That is the Newnan Youth Activities appointment. The next appointment is Councilman Koretko for the Urban Redevelopment.
Next agenda, please.
All right, thank you. And the next, Mayor Pro Tem Shell for Urban Redevelopment.
Yes, I want to reappoint Simone Dunn.
Second.
Motion is second. We reappoint Simone Dunn to the Urban Redevelopment. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Okay, well, it is that time of year again when we get to recognize the seniors. Well, almost all of these people are seniors. We'll get to that later. In our the Newnan Youth Council, and they have been, some of them have been on the council for 3 years, some for 2 years. But one thing is for sure, they're all graduating this year, and we want to recognize them. Pre-COVID, the room would be packed. All the kids would be, students would be here. Their parents would be here. We're having to do a little bit differently. They're going to come in as we call their names. Our Councilman Jenkins, Councilwoman Jenkins and I are going to share that in that calling out of names. So she's going to start it off. So, Ms. Jenkins.
Thank you. This
group is very near and dear and special to me. And this year I didn't get a chance to spend as much time with these kids, but I have in their previous years, and I'm very proud of them. So our first set of seniors is David Browning, who is a 12th grader at Heritage, and he will be attending the University of Georgia, majoring in marketing. He was the 2019-20 Heritage representative, as well as the 2020-2021 Heritage representative. True to character.
He'll go far.
Our next is Rachel Kaler. She is a 12th grader at Northgate and will be attending Utah State University, majoring in dietetics.
Rachel was not able to be with us this evening.
And her twin, Rebecca Kaler, who is also a 12th grader at Northgate, and she will be attending Brigham Young University, majoring in bioinformatics.
Rebecca is with Rachel.
Next is Fiona Cruz. She is a 12th grader at Newnan High School. She will be attending University of West Georgia, majoring in marketing. She was the 2021 treasurer and the 2019-20 new NYC historian. Next, we have Graham Cullen, the last of the Cullens. And he is a 12th grader at East Coweta High School. He's going to be attending Kennesaw State University, majoring in international business. He was the 2021 historian and the 1920 East Coweta representative. Congratulations. Next, we have Lindsay Egan, a 12th grader at East Coweta High School, who will be attending Georgia Southern University, majoring in psychology and minoring in business.
Lindsay was unable to be with us.
She's not with us. Next, we have Davis Fabre, 12th grader at Newnan. He will be attending Honors College at University of Alabama at Birmingham, majoring in pre-med biomedical sciences and minoring in chemistry and French. He was the 2021 vice chair, and prior to that, in 2019 and 2020, the Newnan High School representative. Next, we have Ashley Guy, a 12th grader at East Coweta. She will be attending Georgia State University, majoring in computer science.
And next is Gus Heatherman, a 12th grader at Northgate High School, attending the University of Notre Dame, majoring in business science, 2019-2020 chair, vice chair, and 2020-2021 parliamentarian. Congratulations. Next is Annie Johnston, a 12th grader at Newnan High, attending the University of Georgia, go Dogs, majoring in psychology and minoring in French. Congratulations. Next is Meredith Lodge, Georgia State University, a 12th grader from Northgate, majoring in criminal justice and psychology. Meredith was not able to be with us this evening. The next.
My pleasure to introduce my granddaughter, Ida Lee Lunsford. She'll be attending Mercer University. She's a 12th grader at Newnan. She'll be majoring in nursing with a concentration in pre-med, and she was the 2020-2021 Youth Council Secretary.
The next is Bo Martin, a 12th grader at Heritage. He will attend the Georgia State University, majoring in philosophy and pre-law concentration. He was the 2019-2020 NYC treasurer and the 2021 NYC chair. The next is Sun Moon, 12th grader at East Coweta High School. He will be attending Johns Hopkins University, majoring in biomedical engineering. Sun was unable to be with us this evening. The next is Jalen Patterson, 12th grader at Northgate High School. Will be attending Kennesaw State University, majoring in architecture, 2020 to 2021 Northgate representative. Congratulations. The next is Jordan Patterson, also a 12th grader at Northgate, Southeastern University at Free Chapel College, majoring in biblical studies and minoring in business. Congratulations. The next is Maggie Phillips. Cletus?
No, go ahead, Mayor.
No.
No.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, my wonderful daughter, Maggie, 12th grader, East Coweta. As you can see, University of California, San Diego. I think I need a pay raise, Mr. Mayor. Major in mechanical engineering and minor in physics. Very, very proud of Maggie.
Well, I told you that all of these folks were seniors, but here is an exception, and I called Mike Furbish to make sure this wasn't a typo. The next is Krish Patel. He is an 11th grader at East Coweta, obviously leaving a year early to go off to the university, not the university, but Georgia Institute of Technology.
Go Jackets.
Yeah, there you go.
Go Jackets.
I left myself open for that. Majoring in aerospace engineering with a minor in health and medical sciences. Congratulations. And as everyone in attendance can see, we've got a great group of students who are part of our Newnan Youth Council. So we move on with the agenda for the rest of the evening. Mr. Phillips, do you have anything this evening?
Just real quick, Mr. Mayor, obviously still waiting on the FEMA declaration from the President. Did see that the state of Alabama's declaration was approved yesterday, which from the same storm event, just the later tornadoes that moved into Georgia. So hopefully that's a really good sign for our declarations. Everything's still moving along. We're up to about 250,000 cubic yards of veg. Still making process. So hope we get that declaration soon.
Thank you.
Thank you.
I don't have anything this evening. Under new business, this is consideration of a professional consulting services for disaster recovery and FEMA public assistance contract. Mr. Craver?
Mayor Brady, members of the council, what you have prepared in front of you is in response to an RFP that the city of Newnan let out. We received responses from 7 qualified firms on April 22nd. The names of those firms are listed in the information at your desk. Based primarily upon a number of elements, but it's important to note that the firm's fee proposal was not the sole determining factor. Instead, it has a lot to do with qualifications and past experience. I'm standing before you recommending that the city of Newnan enter into a contract with Goodwin Mills and Kaywood to provide these professional services.
Is there a motion?
Make a motion to approve.
Second.
Motion is second. Any questions or discussion of the process or the recommendation? All those in favor of the motion indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Mr. Craver, I think you're still up with a consideration of debris removal service contract.
Yes, sir. In the same vein as the previous contract, the city of Newnan put a request for proposals out on April 22nd. We received firms for debris removal services from 6 qualified firms. Again, the recommendation before you is based upon a number of factors included in your packet. Again, the firm's price is not the sole determining factor. I'm standing here in front of you recommending that the city of Newnan consider entering into a contract with Southern Disaster Recovery to provide debris removal services.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. We accept the recommendation from the city for debris removal services contract. Are there any discussion, questions? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you, Mr. Craver. Consideration of a debris monitoring, disaster recovery and emergency planning services contract.
Yes, sir. The city, again, released a request for proposals, received proposals from 3 qualified firms on April 22nd. The names of those firms are listed in the information at your desk. Again, this recommendation is based upon a number of factors, of which the firm's fee proposal was an important but not the sole determining factor. I'm standing in front of you recommending that the city entertain and enter into a contract with Goodwin, Mills, and Kaywood to provide debris monitoring, disaster recovery, and emergency planning services.
Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second one, and a second that we enter into the contract by the city's recommendation. Any discussion or questions? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you. The next is consideration of building inspection services contract.
Mayor Brady, we had our chief building code official here. There he is, Mr. Bill Stevenson here. He's welcome to join me at the mic. But we, again, let out a request for proposals. The city received proposals from 4 qualified firms. The names of those firms are listed in the packet in front of you. The city is, after reviewing all of those firms for qualification, the quality, previous experience, we're here in front of you asking that you consider entering into a contract with Charles Abbott Associates, Inc. to provide building inspection services.
Is there a motion?
Moved.
Second.
Motion and a second. Are there any discussion or questions regarding this issue? All right, all those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Thank you. Thank you. The next is consideration of the exercise ordinance amendment to Chapter 3, alcohol beverages during certain city-sponsored events. Is there a motion on this issue?
So
I'll make a
moved.
motion.
Motion and a second.
Second.
Motion and a second. We approve as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you. The next is a consideration of street closures and sidewalks for Main Street, Newnan summer events.
Mayor Brady, members of the council, there is one edit we would like for you to consider. On page 23 in your book, the list of events, the Coweta County Farmers Market, in the past few years, we've partnered with UGA's Extension Office. They're not able to partner with us this year, and instead what we would like to do is move the Farmers Market event to Mondays from 2 p.m. to 6 p.m. Again, the months of June, July, August, September, and October, but moving it from its Wednesday morning, and this is at the request and after feedback from some of the farmers and those that bring produce to the square, to Monday evening at between 2 p.m. and 6 p.m.
Okay, so with that change, I'll entertain a motion to consider the street closures and summer events.
So moved.
Second.
Motion is second. We approve with the change as noted by Mr. Craver. Any discussion?
I have a quick question.
Yes.
Just with the traffic around the square at that time of the evening, which is during the evening rush hour on a Monday, everything's good with that?
Yes, sir. In previous years, the event was hosted between 9 and noon, 9 and 1. So very similar. There will be, it may be difficult for individuals to find a parking place, but we don't anticipate any kind of negative condition as a result.
Neither parking nor traffic flow? Okay.
No, sir.
Good, thank you.
Okay. Any other questions or discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Motion carried. Under unfinished business, we have a public hearing, a consideration of a zoning ordinance text amendment, Article 6, mixed use development. Smith, how are you this evening?
I'm well, Mayor and Council. Hope you all are.
Good.
We're
This
back
is-
again.
This is a continuation of that public hearing.
It is, and you may recall that since the last hearing, we also have taken several sections of the zoning ordinance and have spaced them out over the course of this and next several meetings. But tonight, for your consideration, are changes to the mixed-use or MXD development district. This is a zoning district that is eligible for somebody to request as part of a rezoning process, meaning at least a minimum of 2 public hearings, giving this body the final control and say over what this project will look like. The purpose of these amendments is to strengthen some of that language, to make sure that it's done as an integrated use, one ownership through the lifetime of the project, that there are at least 2 distinct different uses, and that consideration is given to such site design requirements such as landscaping, noise, and trash, which is sometimes an afterthought for similar developments. I'll be glad to answer any questions I'm able to.
Council? This is a public hearing on this issue, and this is an opportunity for the public to come forward and speak to the issue. Anyone that would like to come forward, this is the time to do that. Okay, seeing no one come forward, I'm going to close the public hearing at this time and ask the council again if they have any questions or comments. All right, I'll entertain a motion.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second, we adopt the consideration of the zoning ordinance text amendment at Article 6, mixed-use development district as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you very much.
Thank you all.
Ms. Smith. The next is a public hearing. This is a rezoning request, RZ 2021-02, Newnan Leasing 2 LLP for 35.49 acres on Newnan Crossing Bypass, parcel number 08750110003, from RS15 to RMH for 396 affordable apartment units, and the consideration of the ordinance. Ms. Donovan, how are you?
Doing well, thank you very much.
Good.
So this is a request by George Rosenzweig on behalf of Newnan Leasing Associates LLP to rezone 35.49 acres. The request is from RS15 to RMH, and it's for the development of 396 affordable apartment units. The tract is located just south of the Springs apartment, and it's across from the southern entrance to Lakeshore subdivision, and it is currently vacant. It is bordered on two sides by the bypass and I-85 and has several site constraints, including power easements, a stream running along the northern property line, and steep slopes in the designated floodplain. The applicant has provided a concept plan that shows the layout of the project. The apartments will be housed in 12 buildings designed around a 302 by 242-foot central park, and it's designed to host neighborhood events. Recreational amenities will include 2 playgrounds, a clubhouse, a pool, a dog park, a picnic area, and access to nearby walking trail. The targeted mix is 20% one-bedroom or 76 units, 48% two-bedroom or 190 units, and 32% three-bedroom or 130 units. Square footages will range from 745 square feet for a one-bedroom, 952 for a two-bedroom, to 1,235 for a three-bedroom. The target resident will earn an average of $35,000 to $50,000 a year. If they were actually built today, rents would be based on income and would range between $465 to $1,085 on one bedroom, $558 to $1,303 for two bedroom, and $645 to $1,505 for a three bedroom, and that includes utilities. Staff has completed an assessment of each of the 8 required standards, and I will give a quick summary of each. Staff felt that the use was suitable in view of the zoning and development of adjacent and nearby products or properties, since the site is pretty much surrounded by residential designations, and the tracts to the south are in the process of seeking rezoning for storage units. That having been said, it does not mean that apartments are the only use that would work on that site, as there are several different types of residential uses that would be suitable, including cottage homes, townhouses, duplexes, etc. Adverse impact on adjacent or nearby property. The greatest would be traffic. However, Newnan Crossing Bypass is a major 4-lane road, and the traffic study has indicated that any adverse impact could be addressed with a traffic signal and traffic mitigation measure. Could it be used as currently zoned? The property is currently zoned for a single-family residential, but the property has sat vacant for over 20 years. If a residential subdivision was to be built, it would be sandwiched between 2 major roads, but an apartment complex to the north, and then the future development, which has been approved for the storage unit on the south. In addition, the applicant has provided a letter from Hovey and Associates stating that the land is not viable as currently zoned due to environmental constraints and the anticipated cost of the land. So while staff does feel the property probably won't be used as currently zoned, that doesn't necessarily mean that the RMH and the apartments are the only suitable land use option for that tract. Would the project cause an excessive or burdensome use of public facilities? All multifamily units in excess of 150 units have to submit a community impact assessment as part of the application. That was included in your packet, and each service provider is contacted, and that information, as I said, has been included. After reviewing all responses, staff determined that the project will have an impact on public services, but it will not be excessive or burdensome. We did include letters from fire and police to give you an idea of the impact on comparable complexes have on the service provision. And then Newnan Utilities has indicated that they have ample capacity to serve the development, and the engineering department has provided their assessment in terms of environmental and transportation. The school system did indicate that the schools serving the district are currently at or near capacity and asked for advance notice as far as the building schedule goes. Also, as part of the assessment, each project has to provide tax revenue information. Per the report, this project would generate $439,000 in additional taxes, that's city, county, and schools, and over $1,043,884 in impact fees. So while the project will have impact, especially in terms of traffic in schools, it would not be excessive or burdensome. In terms of the comprehensive plan, the future land use map shows this property as clean industrial. And while the applicant does point out that the city does not have a clean industrial zoning designation, there are clean industrial uses that could be built on the site to provide jobs for existing residents in the area. So the project would not be compatible with the comprehensive plan's vision for that tract. RMH is intended to provide for higher density multiple dwellings, so therefore staff does feel that development would be consistent with the purpose and intent of the proposed zoning. Again, however, apartments are only one of the stated uses in that permitted RMH zoning designation, so there are other allowable uses as well. Would the proposed use be supported by new or changing conditions not anticipated by the comprehensive plan? As you are aware, we did a full update of our comprehensive plan in 2016, and we're currently undertaking that same process right now. And part of that update will be the reevaluation of our future land use map to see where we'd like to place certain city residential uses. So in 2019, a housing study was completed that showed there were two main housing products delivered in Newnan since 2000. The first was single-family homes, which had 53%, and garden-style apartments, which were 34%. And since the study was completed, the city has added an additional 4 large apartment complexes, and 3 of those are within the study's identified interstate infill area. So while apartments were identified as one of the uses for this area, the study suggests that there should also be a mixture of higher density commercial offices, et cetera. Currently, below Lower Fayetteville Road, there are only residential development, with the exception of the commercial component to the Springs, which has yet to be built. In addition, Newnan, along with many other cities, has a lack of housing stock that falls in what's known as the missing middle. And so therefore, while the comprehensive plan does promote affordable housing, there are other housing products that could address the need in other areas where this type of development could be located. So while conditions have changed, it is not necessarily to the point of supporting the proposed use as the only use for this particular tract. Staff does feel that the project shows a reasonable balance between the promotion of public health, safety, morality, and general welfare, and the right to unrestricted use of property. As specified in this assessment, there is a need to provide housing opportunities to all individuals, including those who do not or cannot afford a home. The housing study has indicated that while Newnan does have currently an affordable workforce, does not have currently, an affordable workforce housing crisis, it is headed in that direction. So the project would provide affordable housing. The question is, where should these units be located? City, again, has already 3 new large apartment complexes in the interstate infill area since 2019. And so that's the question, does the city want to continue the concentration of multifamily in this particular corridor? In summary, staff found that the development met 6 of the 8 standards. At their March 9, 2021 meeting, the Planning Commission held a public hearing and voted 3-2 to recommend approval of the request, and these are the following conditions that they asked, or they suggested. The project would be consistent with the plan, density, project data, amenities, and architectural details as provided as part of the application. The developer will install all traffic mitigation measures as determined by a traffic study and approved by the city engineer. The developer shall provide and install street lights along Newnan Crossing bypass adjacent to the parcel in accordance with the lighting standards for a multi-lane urban corridor for the electric provider for the development, and the developer shall reapply after the conclusion of 15 years to extend the period of affordability requirements for an additional 15-year term. And that's the report of the Planning Commission.
Thank you, Ms. Douglas. Now, there's an opportunity for the applicant to come forward. This is a public hearing on this particular item, so the applicant will come forward at this time and present their project. Thank you. If you'll state your name for the record, please.
Mr. DuBose, do you, Mr. Craver, mind if I take this off when I talk?
No, it's fine.
Okay, I've had my shots.
Thank you for
It's
asking.
just easier.
Thank you, George.
I'm George Rosenzweig. I represent the applicant, property owner, Eve Loudenbach. Eve is a retired school psychologist in Arlington, Virginia. This is Eve with one of her grandchildren on an outing. Eve is the fifth generation of Kate's family who's owned this property. The Kates were once a very prominent family here in town. Her great-grandfather was the editor of the local newspaper. Her grandfather, John Cates, gained a great deal of fame half a century ago. He was a local pharmacist who gave away vaccine during the 1918 pandemic, and his life was honored in the hit show This Is Your Life in the 1950s on television. But like a lot of Newnan families, Coweta families, the Cates have moved away. They've died. Now Eve owns the property. She lives in Virginia. She has a high property tax bill, and she wants to avoid passing the issues of absentee ownership on to the next generation. A little over a year ago, she entered into a transaction with my second client tonight, Dominium, to sell an unusually shaped tract of property near the corner of Lower Fayetteville and the Newnan bypass for what is about to become Ashland Ridge, which is an affordable senior complex, which you all approved a year or so ago. Dominium liked what they saw in Newnan. They think they've been treated very, very fairly. They've liked the approval process, and they want to do another project here. So they approached Eve about the property you're considering tonight for Newnan Point, which is an affordable multifamily complex. You all have known me for a long time, and you know I can talk, but I'm not very technical. So I have a team from Dominium here tonight to help me with answering technical questions. We have Mark Sween, who's the project partner, Sean Reinhart, project manager, a local boy, Hayden Stanley, who's project analyst, Vern Wilburn, traffic engineer, Mike Riley's the project architect, and Jeff Koski is here from Blakely Advisory, who did a lot of the statistics and analysis of schools and available properties and so forth. This is the property. As Ms. Donovan told you, it's sandwiched between I-85 and the Newnan bypass. Right around the corner in blue are all sorts of jobs, medical offices in the hospital. To the north are other multifamily properties. Dominium decided they wanted to do something different with this development, so instead of lining up rows of apartment buildings ice cube style, they designed this around a central amenity park. This is the central park. The green space area is larger than a football field. It's over 300 feet long, 240 feet wide. On the left-hand upper top, there's the swimming pool and clubhouse, picnic pavilions, playgrounds, and other amenities. This is the design, the conceptual design of the buildings. You'll notice the mixture of materials, stacked stone, brick, hardy plank, and this style is going to harmonize very well with the Springs Apartments to the north and farther north, Ashland Ridge. They have modern, beautiful common areas, modern apartment areas, And you all know, I think from the past, that Dominium's a first-class operation. It's a large provider of affordable housing. Significantly, in fact, I think very significantly, they build for their own portfolio. They don't cut costs on the front end to flip to someone else. They build and hold, so they put quality into their product on the front end. We need Newnan Point. Now, why do I say that? You've just heard about, and you know you've approved some other apartment complexes in Newnan, and certainly you've approved other types of properties, but we have an affordable housing crisis in Newnan, and Newnan Point is different from the other developments that you've approved recently. It's affordable employee housing. It's not subsidized Section 8 government housing. It's housing for people with jobs, people making $35,000 to $50,000 a year. It's a tax program that's regulated under Section 42 of the Internal Revenue Code and administered by the Georgia Department of Community Affairs. Monthly rents are 30% below new market rate because the taxes allow a credit to go to the developer that in turn has to be passed on to the tenants. Average rents for a one-bedroom, $836 a month, and they go on up based on the size of the unit. Your 2019 study by Blakely found that 49% of Newnan tenants were rent challenged because they were spending over 30% of their income for rental. And it found we needed more affordable housing and identified, as Ms. Donovan said, this interstate infill area is a potential location for multifamily. We've updated the study in 2021, and Blakely found that there's continued pressure for affordable housing. They took a particular look because of all the jobs around the corner in the medical industry from this property, and knowing what an important part of Newnan's economic development we viewed medical jobs as being, and found that nearly half the employees at Piedmont Newnan Hospital commute. The average commute is 45 minutes. People are commuting from as far away as Columbus in Alabama, and that the lack of affordable housing was impacting our available workforce for our economic development because a person with a choice between a job close to home and commuting 45 minutes is going to pick the job closer to home. Now, there's been some talk about who those people are who would be living in Newnan Point. Well, these are some examples from the medical industry of some of those people. These are people who work in our local medical facilities, making less than $50,000 a year. That would also include firemen, policemen, first-year teachers. These are my children in their first jobs, my grandchildren in their first jobs. These are people that work and want to live where they work, but can't do so. Apartment market trends, 75% of multifamily inventory is market rate. Affordable Newnan apartments have a vacancy rate of less than 3%, which is the equivalent of 100% occupancy because there's always some places in transition. And this was before the tornado. We know that now there's nowhere, which is a whole nother problem for a community that doesn't have any cushion of affordable housing. As I said, we know you've approved some projects: luxury apartments, luxury condos, luxury villas, luxury cottages. But what you've not approved and what is not in the pipeline is affordable multifamily. We've looked at the projects. They're age restricted. They're out of the price range of many, many people. The planning department report was a good one. If I could bat 6 out of 8, I'd be in the Hall of Fame, right? But The couple of things they talked about on the negative side, clean industrial, this just isn't a site for a little tennis shoe factory or something. The missing middle, you've approved villas, cottages, and condos, but not affordable housing. And talking about location, what's zoning all about? It's about grouping common uses together, right? That's what we do in zoning. And the idea that you could have any better location for a needed affordable family multi-housing development than where there are other apartments, just, that is the place. Your plan itself, it expresses a desire for people who work in the community to be able to live here. Why? They're part of the fabric of the community. To have a community where people to have jobs where they can afford houses, commute out, and people who perform services commute in, means that even fewer people have an economic investment in the community in which they're living and working. Newnan Point meets all the objective criteria in the zoning ordinance. We have an engineer's letter that says the cost of developing this property as currently zoned would be $70,000 per lot, and that doesn't include the cost of buying the land. And the same thing's true for the idea of villages and cottages. The only way to make this project work is to stack the units like you do in an apartment. Newnan Point is affordable housing. We need it. We have a good developer. We have a good location. And I'm going to close with a Dominium video that I think says more clearly than my words in these slides can why we as a community would want and should want Dominium to be a corporate citizen.
It feels great when people walk in and the first words out of their mouth are, "This is affordable housing," and we explain, absolutely yes, this is luxury affordable housing.
North Range Crossings hits home because we've created a beautiful, physically beautiful environment to live in. We've built apartments that are spacious. We provide amenities that they can enjoy. They get to know their community.
The apartments, they have in-home washers and dryers, beautiful luxury laminate flooring, 2 bathrooms instead of 1, 9-foot ceilings, gorgeous stainless steel appliances. We truly are offering luxury living.
Affordable housing's a crisis everywhere, but especially here in Colorado. When we're 75% leased before we are even close to opening a building, and then 100% leased by the time we are open fully, for me that just really highlights the crisis. A lot of people think of it as public housing, whereas everyone in our development needs to have a job, a certain amount of income, and be income qualified to live here. At this particular property, it's at 60% of the area median income. So we're serving a group of people that make $35,000 to $50,000 a year. So oftentimes we're serving first-time school teachers, dental hygienists, first-year police officers. We serve a lot of single moms. It's not what most people think of affordable housing when you come to one of our developments.
What Dominium does is we build places like this where people who work in the same neighborhoods and communities that they want to live can now afford to do that.
And people from different socioeconomic groups are going to help make a neighborhood vibrant. They're going to learn from each other. They're going to have experiences to share. Everybody's going to grow from it.
We are young, but we did receive the Affordable Housing of Colorado 2019 People's Choice Awards, and that sits on our mantle behind me. It was the recognition of projects in the Metro Denver area just for affordable housing.
We'd like to continue to expand in the Denver area. There's definitely a need for affordable housing. We're working on East Range Crossings right now. We're filling up quickly. When people see the property, when people experience what we're doing, they want to be part of it. They want to live here. We do everything we can to let people know that we're here to be part of the community and to help our residents grow and thrive.
We need Newnan Point. Thank you.
Thank you. Any questions from council for Mr. Rosenzweig or the team he has brought? If you've got a technical question about anything, people he's brought with him this evening? Anyone? Okay, this is a public hearing on this issue of a rezoning request, and you all are out there, you understand what the request is. This is the opportunity for anyone who is in opposition to the request or the application to come forward and speak. So if there is anyone out there in the audience tonight who would like to come forward, speak in opposition to the rezoning request, this is your opportunity. If you'll come forward and state your name for the record, please.
My name's Howard Smith, and I live at 32 Kendall Court in the Lakeshore subdivision, which is directly across the street from the proposed project. I don't have objection to people having a decent place to live. That's not the situation. I lived in East Cobb for 22 years. I changed professions. My office is actually in Griffin, but I chose to live in Newnan because I operated businesses here for 22 years. I love Newnan. I'm originally from Savannah. Newnan reminds me of Savannah. It's the closest I can get to Savannah and stay in this area. So there was a couple of points. I had a question. The report said, first report said there were environmental constraints to that piece of property for single family. Can you answer what those constraints are? Do we know what those constraints are?
Ms. Donovan?
Yes, sir.
Did you hear the question?
Yes, sir, I did. Essentially, so they have some creeks on the property that are going to require buffering, some steep slopes and some floodplain. So those are the environmental constraints that'll keep them from building in those areas.
All right, thank you.
And I've been here 16 years, and since they opened exit 44 and extended the bypass, the traffic on that road has gotten pretty bad. And I just want you to understand that you, in considering this, you're going to create an apartment row between Lower Fayetteville Road and Poplar Road. It's going to be all apartments on that whole side of the road. And you're going to put 900 residences in the same area, probably the same acreage as my subdivision, which has 155 single-family houses. That's a huge difference. That's 6 times as many residences in the same amount of acreage. And obviously I'm concerned about the value of my house. I mean, I'm going to retire here. Like a lot of people, it's my biggest investment. I took a 40% hit back in 2008 on the value of my house. For the first time in my life, I went upside down on a mortgage. It's finally come back. Maybe I'm making a little bit of money now if I were to sell. I don't want to sell. I want to be here. I just want to point out that there's some things to consider: the traffic, what it's going to do to the school system, what it's going to do to property values in the area. That's all I want to say.
Thank you for being here. I appreciate your comments. Anyone else in opposition to the application? If you'll come forward and state your name for the record, please.
My name is Kathy Marshall, and I live in Lakeshore subdivision as well. One of the things that comes to mind when I listen to the potential for this new project is one of the things I think about is the tenants. If we're looking at people that from $35,000 to $50,000 income level, then the federal poverty line in Georgia is around $35,000 a year. So what kind of impact is this going to have on our taxes or that we're paying in Coweta County? Because, are we going to be financing the housing for this? What kind of commitment is Coweta County making to subsidizing, or if it's not Coweta County, who is going to be subsidizing this housing?
If that's a direct question, I'm not sure who in, Mr. Phillips, have we got someone qualified to answer that? Mr.
Mayor
Craig?
Brady, members of the council, this is a project that would take place in the city of Newnan, so that's one point of distinction. I mean, we are in Coweta County too, but it is my understanding that the applicant's going to be using low-income housing tax credits. I'm looking for heads, yes, which is a project that's administered through the Department of Community Affairs. I believe the applicant pointed that out earlier. Those are competitively awarded to projects throughout the state of Georgia. Those credits are oftentimes sold, which brings cash to the project and allows the developers to use those funds to build the project. However, in exchange for those credits, there's some of what I think Mr. Rosenzweig showed. Their rents are saved or capped at a certain amount. But there's no financing, ma'am, through the city of Newnan nor Coweta County. Correct me if I'm incorrect.
Okay. The other question or comment that I would have is that 2 doors down from my house, we had one of our rentals within our company, within our neighborhood, renting to individuals through the Atlanta Housing Authority. And I just want to, I don't know how well we can compare these two situations, but in the 8 years that I lived 2 doors down from this house, people who were brought in to live in this house did, it was just chronic crime, quite frankly. They were selling drugs from the house. You knew what days of the week the drugs arrived because everyone flocked to that house on those days, and people I'm sure that live in our neighborhood can attest to that. And there were many other fights that occurred at that house. That house did not pay their utilities, therefore they created a hose to go from the neighbor's gas line to their gas line so that they could get gas to their house. They would go and plug in plugs from neighbors to make sure that they had electricity. We had several incidences where there were abuse of women and other people within that home. They lit a bonfire in their garage for having entertainment one evening inside the garage. Our homes live very close together, so it was chronic crime problems. And, I don't want to stereotype, but that's my experience with people who were living in that house. And again, it went on for years and years and years. And, and we also have had problems with crime with people coming from other neighborhoods into our amenities, using our pool. We had gang rivals coming into our pool. I witnessed a fight with my own 2 eyes against rival gangs in my pool with my children and I there. And so my concern is one of crime, just with my personal experience. So I just wanted to make sure to express my concerns about this type of project going on next door to or across the street from my neighborhood, which is Lakeshore subdivision.
Thank you for being here. Anyone else in opposition to the application? If you'll come forward and state your name, please.
Hi, good evening. My name is Julie Carl, and I'm at 149 Inverness Avenue, also in Lake Shore. And some of my people here have addressed the same concerns. Traffic is extremely rough already, opening the Springs of Newnan with the opening of the new exit, which is great for me, but I leave work at 4:15 in the morning, so it doesn't bother. There's speeding is out of control. I know Newnan Police have set up several speed traps. They catch people all day long. So I guess I'm just, along with what everybody's saying, the crime, now that they've opened that exit, we've seen an increase in crime. Cars being broken into in driveways, only because now you can jump on 85, and by the time you call Newnan Police, they're already gone. You're not going to see them. The schooling, I had to take my daughter out of East Coweta 2 years ago because of the overcrowding situation. So we're just, just little things to think about. Also on the rent, when you were saying the rent prices, are those going to stay there for each each year they're not going to raise their rents every year, they're going to stay stagnant for 15 years? Or will their rents be raised every year? Like when I first moved here from Florida, I was at the Trees of Newnan, and I was actually pushed out because they did a market increase and increased my rent $110 for that year. And that's like, well, that's what people are paying. So are they going to increase their rents, or will they stay stagnant for the 15 years?
If you've got, Mr. Rosenzweig, if you answer the question, but you'll.
Oh, I'm sorry.
He'll need to come to the podium
Oh, I'm
to
sorry.
answer the question. The sound system won't record him
Oh, I'm
unless he's,
sorry.
that's okay, you didn't know.
Okay.
There's people a lot more qualified than I, but on my lawyer's level, I think it's based on area median income, which could go up a little bit each year.
But if their income stays the same, so their rent's going to stay the same as well for the 15 years until they.
As long as the area median income stays the same, half above and half below.
Yeah, my concern also is my house value. I purchased my house, one of the last houses that were built in Lake Shore, and in the 5 years that I've been there, my house has gone up almost $60,000, which is great for me if I'm trying to leave, but I love the area. I work at the airport. It's great for me location-wise. I'm just scared down the road about what the effect's going to be on our property values. So, and also, I guess he said with the traffic is just crazy on the bypass. It's very dangerous. The intersection, Lower Fayetteville, and the bypass is a very dangerous intersection. We have accidents all the time there. So I guess we're just what we can figure out if they go through with the project.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Thank you for being here this evening. We appreciate it. Anyone else in opposition would like to speak? If you'll come forward and state your name for the record, please.
Chris Jefferson. I have two boys. We moved down here from Union City, right next to two apartment complexes, right off of Roosevelt. So when we moved there, it was relatively nice, pretty nice area. Over the years, I'm sure you guys are familiar with Union City and what it looks like today. A lot of crime, particularly on that street. So I'm very familiar with the concerns, and those were low-income, housing as well. So I'm obviously afraid for my own, well, not afraid, but worried for my two boys, because I moved out of that area to kind of get away from that, and I kind of see that happening here. So that's why I came. Redistricting as well. When we came, I thought we were going to be going to Newnan Crossing, which is I think 5 minutes away up Lower Fayette, but you guys drew us out, and so now we're about 15 minutes away down the street at Welch, and I just wonder where they're going to.
Let me, don't interrupt usually on an opinion, but what you just said was a misfact. We don't school district. We don't have anything to do with the school district. So school board moved your district around, that was them, wasn't us. But go ahead, I appreciate it.
My bigger concern, I guess, is overcrowding of the schools, and you guys said that they're going to have a plan for the school district. I didn't hear one, though, but I don't know, maybe you guys can speak to that, or can we get some clarification on that?
As part of the community impact assessment, we do contact the Coweta County School Board, and they had basically indicated that what they would like to see is the plan and how this is going to be built so that they can prepare for the additional students. That is what they said in there. There are concerns about overcrowding, so they asked for the plan to be able to address those up front.
Thank you.
And of course, that'd be my main concern, obviously the schooling. The high school as well. I believe when we came in, we were districted for Newnan, and now we're all the way out in East Coweta. I guess this is also due to the number of people, which I guess, with bringing in, how many units is it? 396. Yeah, 396 units. Right. I'm assuming there's going to be a lot of families with children as well that need somewhere to go. So that's my major concern.
Thank you. Anyone else in opposition to the application? You'll come forward and state your name for the record, please.
My name is Dwight Singh. I also live in the Lakeshore community across the street, and I understand the need for affordable housing. My concerns here are, again, overcrowding, traffic, and the schools. I have 2 children in school, one in middle school and one in high school. I know the community has just been devastated by these tornadoes recently, and I think a lot of the school budget in the coming years is going to go to rebuilding and fixing the damage that was done. So I don't know how this impact is going to be helpful in that sense, where they're going to bring in probably several more students, let's say more than 10%, I would have to guess, with the new development here. So those are some of my concerns, not really questions. But then you also said there was some construction constraints to building single-family homes there. How are you going to mitigate those from single-family to the units that you're planning on building? Because it's not going to be, normally if you do a single-family unit, it's a subdivision, they're going to come in, address all of those things and build them. With you guys, you're going to do the same thing with the apartment complex. So why couldn't the developer who comes in to build some single-family homes mitigate that? I don't see that as a reason to stop that kind of thing. Yeah, I'm also concerned about affordability, the quality of the people moving in across the street from my house. Again, I think, everyone deserves a place to live, and I would like to see everyone, have some place comfortable to live, no matter what their financial situation is. I just think we are just getting too compacted there, too crowded, and if you go beyond Poplar Road and beyond Turkey Creek, there's a lot more space to build out there. So those are some of the things I wanted to bring up for your consideration, gentlemen, ladies and gentlemen.
Thank you for being here. Under our time constraints, I've given equal amount of time to the applicant and to those in opposition. So for close, Mr. Rosenzweig, I would give you 2 minutes if you had any rebuttal.
Thank you. Very, very quickly, and I thank everyone for their comments. It's important that people come out and comment, and those were some good remarks. Crime, apartments don't create crime. It's bad management. We're fortunate that we have Dominium looking at this development. As they admitted, crime can come in single-family places as well. Property values, as the lady admitted, have actually gone up with the Springs Apartments across the street. There's a traffic study that we've submitted that shows with a light at Lakeshore, the efficiency at that intersection will be A, and there's a condition in the rezoning that we find acceptable that other intersections be studied. The schools, we pay a substantial amount of school tax. There's substantial state subsidy. Most of the students at from this complex statistically go to elementary school and middle school. There is a new middle school that's coming online. A relatively small percentage go to high school. In terms of this question about the cost of development, what you're able to do with a larger number of units stacked is spread the development cost over more units. The problem with RS-15 was you could only get 40 units. So if you spread the cost over 390 units, there's a lot more units. And on taxes, just like you said, there's no city or county effect. It's federal administered by the state. So thank you all so much.
Thank you. Okay, so this closes the public hearing at this time. And at this time, I'll entertain a motion from the council to adopt the report from the Planning Commission.
So moved.
Second.
Motion and a second to adopt the report from the Planning Commission. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Okay. Is there a motion on the request for the rezoning?
I make a motion that we approve the rezoning. And I'll tell you why I think that. I think that we are in a housing crisis, an affordable housing crisis. I think that the tornado has not only highlighted but exacerbated that issue. It is flagged as the #1 issue we have with long-term recovery, is that we do not have enough affordable housing. I also think that our housing study shows that for every high-paying job we create here, we create 3 more lower-paying jobs, which necessitates affordable workforce housing. Working in the affordable housing arena, since I'm the CEO of Southern Crescent Habitat, which covers the 3 counties east of us, we see all the time that when we're talking about affordable housing, people often think that it is Section 8, that it is housing authority, public housing, and that's not what we're talking about. This is targeted towards hard-working families who just don't make enough money to afford the average house price here in Coweta County or the average apartment price here in Coweta County. As the applicant said, these are your grocery store workers, your bus drivers, your police officers. These are folks that normally we say we want to protect, our essential workers, the people that we talked about during the pandemic in 2020 and labeled them heroes, yet we want to vilify them when it's time to provide housing that they deserve to have within our community. And so I think that if we say we're going to have affordable housing within our community, then we have to put our votes and our care and our decisions behind making sure that those people are taken care of. Otherwise, we'll have, before the pandemic, you saw lots of restaurants saying, hey, we need more workers. And you saw a lot of owners spooning up food because they couldn't find people to do those jobs, because they had to travel too far because they couldn't afford to live here. Here is an opportunity to make a difference in that area and to provide a decent place to live for people who are hard-working people. These are not people on the government dole. These are not people who are out there doing whatever it is you think low-income people do. These folks need somewhere to live, and this is an opportunity for us to let the market handle that for us. So that is why I support this project, and I hope that this council will do the same.
I'd like to make a comment, please. I think,
Motion, but I don't have a second. So
pardon me?
I have a motion, but I don't have a second. So
I'm not going to.
before we have
Okay,
discussion, she made a comment about her motion. Before we have discussion,
Right.
I need a second.
I'll make a second.
All right. Have a motion and a second to,
If you want to comment.
yeah, go ahead.
I understand the language of affordable housing. What I do object to is the words of vilification and crisis. Nobody is being vilified here, quite frankly. This is just a matter of housing and projects, and what can we do for the community. To use the word crisis is a bit extreme to me. I'm very familiar with the Bleakley group, which we hired in 2019 to do our study. I think it'd be confusing or a misrepresentation to say that that is actually part of the comprehensive plan. They make suggestions based upon their information. They're objective, in some cases subjective, and in their opinion. And it's up to council and up to us to decipher that information and weigh it before we make our decisions. So I just want to say I strongly disagree with the crisis issue from that perspective, and I strongly disagree with the vilification, if this is not passed, that we're sending a message to people that we don't care. I can't agree with that.
Okay, any other comments or questions?
I have a question and a comment, actually. The question is, I've heard the recurring theme from the residents of Lakeshore, security and stuff like that. A lot of apartments will proffer a gates at the entrances and stuff like that. Is that something you would be willing to consider?
No, I think that's a question for the developer, is
Yeah.
whether or not they would offer a gated apartment complex.
My name is Mark Sween. I'm with Dominium, and yes.
Okay, all, both entrances, okay. And there was a comment about the, and I can't put words in the school board's mouths. I think with the current thing going on with Newnan High School, they are in the process of building a middle school. I think it'd be easy to postulate, though, that that facility would probably be used for the high school students for a couple years. And the middle school and the elementary schools are probably going to remain similar to where they are right now. So that's something to consider, right? So, I mean, so I think that's something to consider, you know, with the schools. So schools aren't built overnight. Schools are usually a multi-year process. So, you know, the crowding in the schools is a valid concern to consider.
Okay.
Yeah,
Okay,
yeah, thank you.
Any other questions or comments, discussion?
I'm just thinking, Mr. Mayor, through the process here, and ladies and gentlemen, we're in this comprehensive plan study now, and we've got this beautiful piece of land here. We have a party that wants to develop it into 300-plus apartments, but I'd also like for us to think about future land use here, and my thought is that it needs to be a transition period going down the bypass from the mentioned storage facility on Poplar Road as we approach the built-out Springs apartments, and possibly use that as an office area or some type of commercial, or even some type of clean industrial, so that it's going in gradually into this residential area and not stacking more residential on top of residential. I've really been bothered by this quite a bit, because I think there's a great argument for affordable housing for the working people of the community, but there are other places that could possibly be put. So that's just some of my thoughts on this.
All right. Any other comments or questions? All right, I have a motion and a second to approve the application. If there aren't any other comments or questions, I'm going to call the question. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, show of hands. All those indicate by show of hands. All those opposed? Motion denied. Okay. We need, do I need a motion to deny the request? Is there a motion to deny the request?
I offer a motion to deny the request.
Second.
On what basis?
On the basis of, well, I'm not sure that I need a basis, to be quite honest about that. Well, the new zoning ordinance that I was thinking about, and the comprehensive plan coming forward.
Okay. All right, so a motion to deny. Is there a second?
Second.
Was there a second? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pose like sign.
Nay.
Okay, thank you. All right, that ends that particular item on the agenda. The next request, the next item under visitors is a request from Summerlin Community for permission to put up signs in the community yard sale to be held May the 1st. Signs to be placed at the entrance of Lower Fayetteville Road. Is there a motion?
I'll make the motion.
Second. Motion and second. We grant the request as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Aye. Pose like sign. Motion carried. The next is a request for First Baptist Church to close Brown Street on May the 22nd, 2021 from 1:30 to 4:30 for a NHS senior graduation party. Is there a motion?
So moved.
Second.
Motion and second to approve the request as presented. Any discussion? All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Motion carried. Thank you. We don't have a motion, we don't have any need to go into executive session this evening, so is there a motion to adjourn?
I'll make
So
it.
moved.
Motion, is there a second?
Second.
Motion and a second to adjourn. All those in favor indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Opposed, like sign. Thank you. We're adjourned.